Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Conversations with Carrie and Dani. That's me, by the way. You can
Yep.
tell by the little name on the screen. Um, ah, so Carrie,
Yes, ma'am.
I was thinking that I had a weird conversation. It wasn't a weird conversation. I had a conversation that I found a little bit distressing with one of my friends a couple of weeks ago. Um, and it was. I mean, we have some interesting conversations anyway, because I think most of my Adventist friends liked it more when I was a bad Adventist. At least then all they had to do was like help fix me. They don't always know what to do with me now that I'm an ex-Adventist.
Yeah.
I mean, now I'm like hopeless, obviously. And we've had some interesting conversations, even about these videos. One of my other friends said to me, "Who mostly watches you? Is it all like vindictive ex-Adventists?" And I'm like, no, why would you even say that?
Because it's easier to
Um,
believe that we're being vindictive than being curious or something. Yeah.
I'm still struggling with not all. I'm still struggling with some of my Adventist friends that I'm still connected with. Not all of them, but I struggle with some of them still. I struggle with getting them to believe that I can be an ex-Adventist and still believe in God. Because obviously, if you believe in God, and I remember thinking this. I thought this about my friends of every religion. I'm like, I can remember as an Adventist thinking it doesn't matter what church you go to, as long as you truly follow God, you will end up an Adventist anyway. That's why I didn't feel the
hmm
need to, I was thinking about what we said in our last meeting about why I didn't feel the need to always try and convert people. It's because for the last 25 or 30 years, I believed I didn't need to convert anyone. I only
hmm
had to introduce them to God, and He would turn them all into
Presto,
Adventists.
changeo, there we go, right?
All true believers will end up Adventists. I am
hmm
so embarrassed when I say that. It sounds so arrogant, but I honestly used to believe that.
hmm
So, so sidetrack, rabbit hole before I even get to the topic point.
Yeah.
I was thinking, it hurt my heart, okay? It hurt my heart because it's someone I really care about. And they were saying to me, they'd had some dramas with I don't want to share their story, but they'd had some dramas with someone in the extended family. And what hurt me was they were saying to me, Dani, I feel like I need to forgive more.
Mm.
I don't feel like I've forgiven enough. And so that was an instant trigger for me because to me, forgiveness and guilt, they're all wrapped up together. And I remember most of my life as an Adventist thinking, I don't feel guilty enough. I
Mm.
don't feel guilty enough. Were you taught that the more you have and the more comfortable you are, the less you have physical needs, then the less you're going to know your need of God, and it was all like mixed up into this big story in my head. So I'd feel guilty about not feeling guilty enough. And that did
hmm
come up in my conversation with my friend. But this whole I want to she kept thinking saying I need to forgive more. Okay. So she felt really bad because she didn't hadn't forgiven more, needed to forgive enough. And at the time, I didn't know what to say, but I've thought about it for weeks since. And what I wish I'd said now was this.
Mm. You've paused for just a second. There
Okay.
you are.
Can't go back, but I'm more. Is it
Yep.
like being more pregnant?
Right.
Oh, I'm back. Sorry,
Yep.
it's telling me saying I have an unstable connection. So
Yeah.
at the time, what I wish I'd said, sorry, what I wish I'd said, but I didn't say because I didn't think about it till I thought about it for the last 3 weeks. I
hmm
wish I'd said, how do you forgive more? Is forgiving more like being more pregnant?
Right.
You can't be more pregnant. You're either pregnant or you're not, right?
Yeah. I-
So
And for
isn't that the same with forgiveness?
It's true. And my question to that would be, and just thought of that, is what do you think is going to change about your behavior or your heart once you've forgiven more? What's the goal?
So that's where things get interesting.
hmm
And so I believe that, And I mean, this is just me looking in from the outside. I believe that what the core issue there is that my friend set a boundary.
Mm,
She set a boundary. I don't want to be, I'm happy to forgive. I'm not going to hold bitterness in my heart, but I don't want to be in the presence of this person and give them an opportunity to hurt me again. And I'm cheering this boundary on. I'm going, yes, yes, yes. I'm
yes,
so
yes,
excited.
yes.
But and what I believe is that they felt guilty about setting the boundary. And so it got me
Hmm.
thinking, and I thought, I think Carrie and I need to have a chat about this. I want to know what Carrie thinks about it. I want to know what our listeners think about it. And I believe, for me, I know that that was one of the things I was taught about forgiveness growing up that I no longer believe. Okay. So
Hmm.
I was taught growing up that when you forgive somebody, they get 100% access back to your life. And I don't believe that anymore.
Mm-mm.
Um, what can you think of anything about forgiveness that you were taught that you don't believe anymore?
And I think that was, I think I was raised fairly balanced with the forgiveness as far as like it wasn't a matter of this person hurt you, you forgive them, you let them back into your life at 100%.
Yeah.
It was my mom was really good about if you don't feel safe with somebody or somebody, gives you you keep them at arm's length, you know. Um so I think
Mm.
but I don't think I really had that struggle personally. Like there wasn't somebody that I was forced to bring back into my life that was dangerous to me.
Yeah.
But I do know that that has occurred in the Adventist church, in other churches, in other organizations, where you're expected to forgive, and forgiveness basically means forgetting. And
Absolutely.
that's not and like could we use the Bible verse that talks about shaking the sand off of your feet when you leave a village to say look, we need to set a boundary here? I mean, that was when the disciples were going out and as part of the Great Commission, going out, if somebody doesn't accept you or whatever, just shake the dirt off of your feet and off you
Yeah.
go. I think that's an excellent way of showing boundaries. Because I don't think God forgets,
Mm.
but are we supposed to forget? I mean, if there was somebody that hurt my kid and I'm supposed to let them back into that kid's life, that's not going to happen.
It's funny. I never thought about using that verse um as a boundary verse, but absolutely it's a boundary.
Hmm.
Absolutely it is. So yeah. I was just I guess I was thinking yeah. I was thinking about the th I don't think that was the only one that I was taught that I no longer believe and haven't believed for a
Hmm.
long time. Okay. So when you said about forgive and forget, that was one that I was taught as well.
But then
And
that's
I
not even a
believe,
Bible verse.
no, but I feel like it was taught to me as a Bible verse.
Hmm.
Um, when you said it, I was thinking, what Bible verse is that? And you're right, it's not one, but it feels like it was one.
Hmm.
But then again, that's how I got to be stuck as an Adventist for so long because things felt like Bible verses that turned out not to be when I researched them.
Right. I'm just looking up the definition of forgiveness while you're chatting.
Oh, what have you found? I didn't look
So,
that up. I just was
so
talking about
a
how I felt about
so
it.
AI, I think
Yep.
this is from the Greater Good website, says
Okay.
forgiveness is the conscious, deliberate decision to let go of feelings of resentment, anger, and vengeance towards someone who has harmed you. It is a voluntary transformation where bitterness is replaced with empathy, compassion, and a desire to heal.
Yeah, you can tell that's written by a computer
Yeah.
because I was going to say, I start once I started thinking about this, I was thinking about other things about forgiveness, and so that's one of them. I think that's a myth that we're told because it came
Yeah.
up. My friend said it came up talking to my friend. The whole that she didn't say it in 100% words, but it was
Hmm.
implied clearly implied. She thought she hadn't forgiven
Right.
because he still had feelings of anger and hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a myth. When you forgive someone, you don't instantly not feel angry and you don't instantly not feel hurt. Anger is a sign that one of your boundaries has been crossed. I mean, that just doesn't go away.
Right. Well, exactly. I'm
Um,
now I'm looking at Merriam-Webster's. It's so the dictionary definition, and I love to go to the dictionary definition because I think so many times Christianese and Adventismese kind of gives your own definitions to words.
yeah.
So the definition one is to cease to feel resentment against an offender. Two is to give up resentment or claim to requital or to grant relief from payment of. So basically, it does it. So will you forgive somebody for something that you did? Well, sure. I'm not going to expect repayment, but I'm not. So say I'm going to forgive your loan, right? I loan you $100. I thought you were going to pay it back. Turns out you can't. Something happens. I'm going to forgive that loan, knowing I'm not going to get the $100, trying not to be resentful about it, making a choice. But then if you ask for $100 again, I'm probably not going to give you that $100.
No, so you're not going to forget. You're going to forgive and remember.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, the whole, I think that, you know, the religious culture I grew up in, the whole forgiving and forgetting thing, forgetting being equivalent to you no longer feel hurt or angry. I
Mm-hmm.
think that was often used as a measure of how close to God you were. And it's the Bible says that you need to forgive in order to get forgiveness, and that as God fills you with love and mercy, you will have mercy for your fellow man. There's parables about it. I totally agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't believe that the feelings just instantly go away. If I bang your thumb with a hammer
Mm-hmm.
and it comes up in a blood blister and I go, "Oh, I'm really sorry," and you forgive me,
Mm-hmm.
the physical pain doesn't vanish.
And I'm probably not going to hold the nail for you again.
But I mean that the pain doesn't vanish.
No,
The
it's still
physical
there.
pain doesn't go away the minute you say I forgive you. It's not like you've taken a Tylenol pill along with your forgiveness and the pain go. So it's I do believe that forgiveness is something that we often have to do over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't think you can forgive more, like you can't be more or less pregnant. If you're pregnant, you're pregnant. But I do believe that, once you've forgiven somebody, sometimes you might have to remind yourself and have to re-experience it and say again, you know what? It still hurts today, and I'm choosing to forgive them again today as well.
And for the Christian, is forgiveness more for you, the forgiver, or the person who's receiving the forgiveness?
Well, that's a really interesting one
Yeah.
because um I think that's a myth. That's a myth about forgiveness, and that's one I was taught, if I've understood you correctly. I was definitely taught the myth about forgiveness, which is I need to forgive them in order for them to heal.
Mm-hmm.
No, absolutely not. My forgiveness doesn't have any bearing on their healing. And that also ties into why do people ask for forgiveness? I think sometimes people ask for forgiveness because they want to feel better.
Mm-hmm.
They want to feel better. They want to feel restored. They want to feel like without the burden of what they had. And that's not true either because I can't gift somebody a feeling. I remember being taught that, and that's a lie. That's like being trained codependency into a person. I'm not in control of their feelings. Forgiving them doesn't instantly make them feel better. I can't give them a feeling. Um, that's sort of something that they have to do themselves. But I
Mm-hmm.
believe I definitely was taught that. I can't remember again that whole implicit versus explicit, but absolutely. I grew
Mm-hmm.
up believing from what I was taught that I had to forgive somebody in order for them to heal when someone's healing is their own thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you said something else in there interesting that got me thinking about it as something you said. Well, what else did you say? Um, oh, I can't remember. No, it's gone. It'll come back to me. You said something that I thought, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I got really excited about it, and now it's gone. The joys of actual real conversations. I forget.
Exactly. This is unedited, folks.
Yeah.
We're not skilled enough, nor do we have the time or the energy to edit all of these. You get what you get. Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I remember
yeah.
you said something about forgiveness and forgiveness and wanting. What do they people want? Whatever. Forgiveness is for me. This is something that most people don't know, or not most people. I've met a lot of people that didn't know or understand this. So I just want to put this in the middle while we're here. Forgiveness, if I forgive someone, that doesn't, I don't have to forgive them and for them to heal. A lot of people ask for forgiveness because they can't live with the uncomfortable feeling. I don't believe that I have no control over another person's feelings. But
Hmm.
I, we, forgiveness is for me. I have this belief, and I can't remember where it came from. It's one that's developed over the last 15 years or so. It must have come from somewhere. And that is that forgiveness is for me. As long as I am refusing to forgive somebody, I want something from them. So unforgiveness ties me to someone with an invisible thread. And you said something that reminded me of this. And what I mean by that is that if I can't forgive, oh, about the $100 thing, you wouldn't give them $100 again.
Hmm.
If I can't forgive somebody, it means I want something to be different. So as long as I'm holding anger and unforgiveness in my heart, I'm wanting, I want something from them. I might want an apology. It might be that I want for it to have never happened.
Hmm.
It might be that I want them to do something different next time.
Hmm.
Um, and to me, I don't know where I come to the point or even how now that I realized that forgiveness cuts those invisible ties and frees me from wanting something from them.
Hmm.
And there's something really awesome about not being tied to someone that's hurt you.
It's not letting them take up space in your head anymore.
Yep. And as long as you
Mhm.
want something from them, even if that want is an apology, you want them to do something different next time, you want a restitution.
Yeah.
There's the word, use that word. Um, as long as you want something from them, you're still tied to them.
Hadn't thought about it that way before. But
It's
it's
frees
true.
me up from wanting something from them.
Because I think of the different people that have hurt my husband or I with this whole church stuff and the politics stuff that went down before we actually ended up leaving. It's like what do I want from them? And that's exactly what you're saying is I would like them to reach out and apologize, you know. That's not going to change things. It's not going to, and I think they know that is probably why they haven't, because they're like, well, they've left. And like you said, it was easier for them to deal with us when we were, like you said, people were more comfortable with you when we were a bad Adventist,
Yeah.
you know. And so it's for just to say, okay, I no longer want this from them anymore. I no longer expect them to do that. I am just going to wipe that debt away. It doesn't mean I'm going to let them back into my life in order to hurt me again. Because I would think so many people are like, well, just forgive the church and come back. Why would I come back into an environment that has been proven to hurt me over and over again and also holds doctrines that I no longer believe in?
Yes.
So I wouldn't come back even if I knew that they would forgive or apologize or whatever, because the doctrines that they hold, I no longer believe in.
Yeah.
And I think people don't necessarily understand that, because for an Adventist to admit that somebody left due to doctrine.
No, it doesn't happen. They're right. You must
Right.
have been offended about something.
100%. There's no way that somebody, a pastor with an MDiv and his wife, who was born into the church and was an Adventist for 45 years, would choose to leave for any other
Mm.
reason than they got butthurt.
No, no, obviously.
So
That must be a frustrating one to live with, Carrie.
it's a little frustrating. Oh yeah. Yep. But you just have to learn to just move on. Certain people aren't going to apologize because they weren't wrong in their minds.
And the more you say, I didn't leave because I was butthurt, I left over doctrine, the more butthurt you sound.
Exactly. And probably every single video I upload on YouTube shows me more and more offended and hurt.
Oh, no, it's
That's
crazy.
all right. They can take it however they want to take it. This isn't for them.
Um, with you talking about, um, oh no, that's a whole nother rabbit hole. I'm not going to go there. Or maybe just for a little minute.
Okay,
We
just for a
just
little
got
minute.
like a weeny way down the rabbit hole. When you started talking about forgiveness and in context of the church and why you left and stuff, the rabbit hole I ended up in, which is vaguely, very vaguely connected to that, since you mentioned church and that in the same
Hmm.
voice, is and forgiveness, right? Forgiveness. So, there's those verses in the Bible about confess your faults to one another and stuff. And you said that your parents were quite balanced and that you were never forced you to let people back into your life that were not safe. So you could forgive people, but you weren't forced to give them physical access back to your life. And that's really important. I think your parents are awesome for that because
Hmm.
that's important and it doesn't always go that way. I
Right.
definitely grew up in a religious culture where when you forgave somebody, proof of that forgiveness was giving them access back to your life.
Hmm.
And I was thinking how really unhealthy that is, um, and not safe. So the other thing that came to my mind was about emotional safety this time,
Hmm.
because I was thinking physical safety when you shared that. It was emotional safety. And then I thought about going to small home groups and Bible study things. And I know that you participate and run a home group sometimes where you are,
Hmm.
or something. So that whole confess your faults to one another and hold everybody accountable, and that's what the small groups are for. I feel like I grew up where you rocked up to home group and you might have only gone twice, and
Hmm.
and it was like there was no boundaries or safety. It was like you're here, you're in home group, we're all Adventists, we all believe the same thing, we all have the same goal. Now, if you want to prove that you actually love God and are planning to head to the same heaven as us, you don't have to know us or like us. This is the goal of home group. Now, share your sins, tell us your issues, so we can forgive you and pray for you and you can be healed. Like,
I don't remember encountering anything like that when I was an Adventist in a
oh,
home
I did.
group type
It was,
situation.
I think it was slightly more subtle than that in a lot of places,
It
but
could be.
absolutely, definitely there.
I tell you what,
Maybe
100%, my Adventist friends, the members of my husband's churches did not know my dark, deep secrets, which I don't have very many of them, quite frankly.
Well,
But
maybe that's why you didn't notice because you didn't feel obligated to share them because you don't have any.
right, they don't, it's none of their business. The groups that we have right now, we're part of some more discipleship groups, and they're very structured. They're not co-ed. It's men, it's women, it's people who are not in crisis, but it's helping to heal emotional things. And yes, you are expected to be honest in those, but those groups are sworn to secrecy. And if you are found that you did not keep your mouth shut, you're kicked out, you know.
When you speak, I remembered I had a really strong memory. Um, and so First Corinthians 13 is the chapter on love, right?
Yep.
So I was always taught that the most important piece of First Corinthians 13 is the chapter that comes before. That's First Corinthians 12,
Okay.
which is the chapter on the body. Some were given this, some were given that. And I was always taught, and I was thinking of doing doing a study on it even for Peter's SDA on for the Good News Fellowship. But
Mm-hmm.
no, I'm not touching this with a study now that I'm looking at it from a different angle. I was always taught that the most important verse in the whole of that chapter of 1 Corinthians 12 is the one that says that parts of the body cannot say to the other parts, I don't need you. Now, I'm sure that's not actually the main point of the whole chapter and the most important part, but it's
Mm-hmm.
what I was taught. The most important verse in there is that one that says, I don't need you. And of course, that's tied to forgiveness and sharing. And I grew up in a religious culture, I believe, where as a child and a teenager, and even as a church member in my 20s and 30s,
Mm-hmm.
and I never did share because I did have secrets I didn't want to tell them.
Mm-hmm.
And I still have secrets I don't want to tell them. But I'm thinking of doing a show with Peter on SDA Q&A and sharing every last damn one of those secrets. Uh,
Naming names, maybe fake ones, but you know.
uh, so yeah, so I remember growing up feeling quite pressured and hassled and many times accused of being an unforgiving person because I wouldn't talk, because I wouldn't share. And I grew up in a religious culture for a lot of it in my version of the Adventist church, where
Mm-hmm.
I believe we were pressured to share things personal, maybe not inappropriately, but definitely under a pressure cooker timeline of trust,
Mm.
not under the not under what would be the normal timeline of building trust. So, instead of taking 6 months to a year to build a friendship and trust and get to the points, and normally people would share just a little bit and see how it goes, and then just a little bit more and stuff. It was definitely a this is your third or fourth time at home group.
Mm-hmm.
Trust us or leave type thing was not explicitly said, but definitely implied. So this is how you prove you're on the same religious path as us.
Mm-hmm.
Confess your sins so we can pray over you, bud.
Yeah, even if you didn't feel safe in doing so,
The
you know.
safety's got nothing to do with it.
That's
You
right.
have
You
to
better trust
confess
us.
to be saved.
We're Adventist. Of course, we're the safest of all people.
You don't need to be safe, you've got to be saved.
True. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. I don't know. That's all tied into the forgiveness stuff. And if there's oh man, things forgiveness is not forgetting. Forgiveness is not an automatic ticket to being reconciled back into my life.
100%.
Forgiveness is not a magic pill that makes the pain or the hurt go away.
Mm-hmm.
I know. What else you got to add to the list, Carrie?
I think that's pretty good list, I'd say. And yeah, and forgiveness is not, like you said, just letting people back into, you know, it's like when you ruin your credit by declaring bankruptcy. You're not going to get your credit back right away. Takes a
No,
long time to build the trust back again, if ever. Because I think there's some things that, some relationships that don't need to be repaired.
no. The whole forgiving and forgetting thing. Just listening to you, that's developing slowly in my head as we go. Forgiving and forgetting. Okay, you can't forget.
Hmm.
You can't just forget. I was taught the whole forgive and forget thing, and I feel like to forgive and forget, I would have to walk back into a situation and pretend that what happened didn't happen. So basically, it's like saying the equivalent to a kid of Forgive and then fake it all, because
Mhm.
how else can you act like it didn't happen?
Yeah. Yep.
And so if you're living in a place of forgive and fake it all, where do you have, where does the authentic you go? And then if that authentic you isn't there because you're being told forgive, forget, fake it till you make it and everything else like that, how do you have an authentic relationship with God when you're not even being an authentic person?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I mean, and forgiveness is such a hard concept, really. It's kind of it's such an abstract thing, you're not supposed to feel resentful anymore, but you still do. And it's like, how do I know if I've actually forgiven? Because I'm human and I'm not like a computer and can just hit erase all. I don't think we're supposed to erase all. I think it's forgiveness is, maybe managing your reactions, but also being safe at the same time. Don't put yourself back in a situation where you're going to be emotionally, physically, or psychologically hurt.
So that's setting a boundary. And I can tell you from my personal experience that once and that's one of the first things I believe that I started to disagree with the church with. But the church has come a long way with boundary setting compared to where it used to be. Let's be
Mm.
fair.
Yeah.
So 25 years, 25, 30 years back when I was first learning about boundaries and getting into that, it was a big deal. Um,
Hmm.
it was a big deal and not really accepted, but absolutely it's become more of a thing now. And so I can tell you honestly that if I set a healthy boundary and I decide, yes, I'm going to forgive this person, and then I set the appropriate boundaries to not give them access to necessarily do the exact same thing to me and hurt me in the same way, that setting the appropriate boundaries
Hmm.
does leave me feeling safer. And when you feel safer,
Hmm.
you don't you don't actually feel as bitter and angry.
Hmm.
Setting appropriate boundaries alongside forgiveness instead of just going, oh, I have to forgive and forget, really does change how you feel.
Hmm.
In my experience, it does change how you feel, and it does helps a lot of those feelings go away.
Well, and I think you feel empowered when you are able to like I can set a boundary here and guilt is not a feeling I should have. That this is something and I know I have family members that have had to set boundaries with other family members. And that has been very good for both parties, because boundaries are important. And that's a great book for y'all to read if you haven't read the book Boundaries. It's a good one.
Oh, it's an excellent one. Excellent.
Excellent one. We only have a few minutes left, Dani.
I see that, and I'm thinking we didn't even get to the hard forgiveness one because it wasn't part of my thoughts when I was thinking about my conversation with my friend. But now you've brought all this other stuff up, Carrie. I'm thinking we didn't even talk about the toughest one of all. And the hardest, I believe, form of forgiveness is the forgiving yourself one. Um, and that's where I think that friends and groups do come into it. I remember someone saying to me once that we're meant to live in relationships. God's relational, and we're meant to live in a relationship, and that you can't forgive yourself. You can't forgive yourself. But sometimes when you talk with your friends and you share something with them that you're finding struggling with yourself and they forgive you,
Hmm.
you can find forgiveness for yourself through that.
Right?
It's like
Yeah.
a role modeling of it and a practicing form of it. And that might not make a lot of sense to people, but working in the prison, I saw that a lot with people that had done some pretty terrible things, um,
Yeah.
and couldn't forgive themselves. And yeah, running in group therapy when the other men in the group would treat them the same, regardless of what they were ashamed of.
Hmm.
It helped them come a long way to reconciling what they'd done and forgiving themselves.
And I think that's amazing with groups and finding a group that you feel like you can share freely is hard, and I don't think I never felt that I could as an Adventist. Well, especially not as an Adventist preacher's wife, to say that there's anything going sideways in my life or anything that I had done that, you know, Mm-mm. No, no, no. No, no.
No, no. I mean, the Bible says your husband can't lead if there's problems in his house, so you'd better be perfect, Carrie.
I really tried so no, I didn't. I kind of had to give up. I
So,
was just I was just fun. People liked me.
um, so in winding up, you do the best wind ups and summaries. If you've got anything to add, go for it. I just want to say, if you're listening to this today, please, we would love to hear what myths have you believed about forgiveness and how did that impact your life?
Hmm.
What were you taught about forgiveness that's turned out not to be true? And how much better is your life now that you've realized some of these things?
Yeah. I think with forgiveness, people are like, you need to forgive the whole forgive and forget. No, that's just a load of no nonsense. Forgive, let go of your resentments. If you can proceed, depending on what you're forgiving. I mean, the relationship could potentially be repaired. There's other relationships that really shouldn't be repaired, that you need to sever and put some boundaries. Also, forgiveness for your own mental health as well. They
Yep.
need to process their own stuff, you know. But yeah,
Yeah.
pray for guidance with the whole forgiveness thing. How is that all supposed to work? But I don't believe God expects us to allow dangerous people back into our lives.
Right. So
Mm-mm.
the Bible teaches that God forgives us and he reconciles us back to him, but that is God. We do not need to forgive and reconcile everybody back into our life.
Yes, because we're not God, we're human.
Yep.
I know it's shocking for some people to hear that, but
All right. So click like, subscribe, and if you've got a friend that you think will be amused or that you want them to think about it, forward.
that's right. Exactly. Everybody have a great day. We'll catch you next time. Bye, everyone.